Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Up next on Another View, the August edition of the Another View Roundtable. Today's topics: is race a factor in this year's presidential election? The White House initiative on educational excellence for African Americans. Too little, too late to appease the black community? Gabby Douglas brings home the gold and makes history. But the conversation is about hair and family finances? Really? Our roundtable pundits, Roger Chesley, Carol Pretlow, Bill Thomas, and Will Laveist, have lots to say about these and other topics. It's the Another View Roundtable, right after this news from NPR.
Discussing the issues and celebrating the successes of the African American community. This is Another View.
Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Welcome to Another View. It's the second Friday of the month, which means it's time for the members of our Another View Roundtable to share their wit and their wisdom. So let's get right to it. Well, please welcome Roger Chesley, columnist for the Virginian-Pilot. And you can read his column every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Hey, Roger.
Hi, Barbara. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Carol Pretlow, political science professor for Norfolk State University, and our only female panelist, but she can hold her own. Hey,
well,
Carol.
Thank you. Good morning.
Glad to have you with us as always. Our favorite conservative and community activist, Bill Thomas, and he's still single, ladies. Hey, Bill.
I'm trying to be that way. I'm trying to do something about that.
How you doing, Bill?
Life
Good
is
to
beautiful.
Have you.
How are you?
Doing good. Doing great. And journalist, talk show host, and author Will Laveist, author of Fired Up: How to Win When You Lose Your Job. Hey, Will.
Always a pleasure, and I'm good. I'm good.
And I'll leave the rest of that alone. So, Olympic fever all over the place. Gabby Douglas, first African-American woman to win the gold in women's gymnastics all-around competition. Mm-hmm. Make sure we're very specific about that designation, but she did make history. And yet, the conversation was about her hair and about her mother's finances and other things that kind of detracted from her accomplishment. And she was unable to do really well in a couple of meets following that. So my question to you all is, how much do you think the social media and the commentary played in her ability to continue as strongly as she had? And, well, let's start with you.
Well, the internet is both a blessing and a curse for someone who was, one of the early journalists back in the 90s that got involved in it. And we saw then, and they're still called this, trolls. There are a lot of them on the Virginian-Pilot site who post anonymously and say a whole lot of negative things. But then the internet is also a blessing in the sense that it opens up an opportunity for new voices who ordinarily wouldn't be heard from. But the problem is that something as simple as what someone may have just thought or may have just said flippantly, now you put that out on the internet and Twitter, and then someone reacts to it, and then it goes from that to trending to on and on and on, and then the journalists pick it up and say, well, this is what's happening on Twitter. So unfortunately, I think in this case, this is probably, a couple of idiots made some statements and it just ran amok. And, as an athlete, I think her coaches should have done a better job of not having her be exposed to all of that. Because she's still a 16-year-old kid.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Carol. She's a 16-year-old child. And to be expected to be able to handle all of that.
It's a difficult thing, no matter what the age, to handle criticism, and particularly when you're in a contest that demands your total concentration. So, like you, Will, I was thinking, she's a child. She should be protected from this. But on the other hand, I was also thinking that it shows I don't want to say a retrogression, but it shows that we haven't progressed, because back in the day, I got similar criticism for afro and for shaving my head. And I was like, why do people care about that when her performance should be the focus?
Mm-hmm. Roger?
Yeah, the only thing, I don't think you said earlier, she did win 2 gold medals.
Yes, she did.
She was the first black athlete to win the all-around. It just drives you nuts. It really does. And as we were talking right before we got on the air, I mean, how many people really were commenting about her hair, and how many people were commenting to the comment? And why do athletes of color sometimes have to be the focus of that? Mostly from people who are commenting, who also are black.
The commentary is that the original tweet came from an African American woman,
exactly,
who was criticizing her about her hair.
Chris Rock did a whole little movie about this. About our hair. The books have been written about it. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Do I think it played a part, possibly, in her not doing too well on the last individual routines that she was on? Maybe, or maybe she was just tired. She is 16, she is young, and she had put a lot into the all-around and into the team competition. So it's hard to say. Mm-hmm. It's a shame that this, unfortunately, comes up too much when people of color are kind of breaking ground in sports that we don't necessarily always excel in.
Bill, was a fair game, the whole discussion about her mother's finances and her hair and things of that nature in terms of media coverage, as opposed to just covering her abilities as an athlete?
It was impolite, and it should not have happened, but we shelter our kids too much, and the problem, I do agree with Will on this, is that I see the coaches as a problem. They should have not allowed them to be tweeting or texting or anything, especially the younger kids. They should have just taken all that away from them and just kept them under control until this event was over. Because if you lose a minute of concentration or a millisecond of concentration, you're done. You're competing with the very, very best. That young lady did very, very good. I think she just needs to toughen it up and figure out how to do some things. But no, that was mean-spirited and impolite and all those kinds of things that black people have suffered forever. And the reason I said that we protect our kids so much are our parents, and I know everybody here, they said sticks and stones break your bones, words never hurt you, because they knew we were going to get called names. We knew we would always be diminished. And so our parents prepared us for that. And you know, when they call you something, just bite your tongue, count to 10, and we were called worse. And we dealt with it. So I think we got to toughen up our kids and let them know what the real world is about. I talk about institutionalized racism all the time, and it's still there. People just can't see this little child, little monkey, whatever they're calling her. We always call her out of her names too. It's just
the
always
flying squirrel.
Yeah, whatever, and that's okay. And to a degree, just toughen up and deal with it and move on. But the girl, as Roger has said, I mean, it's unimaginable. Actually, I thought what she did by first placing herself first on the team and then winning those 2 gold medals is earth-shattering. It tells you if she can balance her little body on that little 4-inch bar just by pure will, we can do anything. That's how I saw it. So I see all of this as a sideshow. I see the fact that girl with her steely nerves and complete concentration and professional athleticism, it's just absolutely remarkable. I put it up there with Martin Luther King's speech, tell you the honest God truth.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. I know a lot of you have commentary. I've seen it on Facebook. Call us and let's talk about it. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Will.
And the other thing that's really remarkable about her is how at a young age she took control of her life and her destiny. I mean, you mentioned my book at the top, and that's a lot of what I talk about. At 14 years old, to be able to go to your mother and say, hey, I need better training if I'm going to reach my dreams, and to make a move like that. I mean, that was pushed by her, the child, to make a move to go to Iowa. And, and a Virginian-Pilot did a nice, very good piece looking at the whole drama that played out at the Virginia Beach gym, Excalibur. And again, he mentioned in Twitter, I tweeted after reading a New York Times article that talked about Gabby's story that didn't mention the Excalibur gym at all. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
what are you doing? How can you write about? I mean, and again, having been a parent of athletes and coached, and you know how those things can play out, and adults can get a little crazy. But here's a young lady at 14 years old, took control of her life, and look at what it got her. And that's to Bill's point, that's a very profound message to young people at a young age. You can take control of your destiny.
What did you guys think of the coverage of Gabby prior to her winning the gold. As you looked at the coverage overall of the team, did you think that she received equal coverage?
I think there was a lot of attention given to, and I'm going to mess up her name, so I'm not going to say it. The one young lady who didn't make the all-around,
right?
And the fact that she had been a world champion before and didn't make that particular part, and how there seemed to be a feeling that she was not. What a bad thing for her. And I kept on thinking to myself, hey, but the other two did better than her that made it to that. So she had the opportunity, and unfortunately she ended up in third place.
Because the media basically had placed her as, the golden star, so to speak, prior to the actual competition.
No, so I didn't really have any problem with the coverage that she got. I thought Gabby got a lot of coverage during the Olympic trials before the actual Olympic event. So I felt like she got treated fairly.
Okay. Let's go to Don in Chesapeake. Hi, Don. You're on the air.
Yep. How are you?
Hi. Okay. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to make a comment that the news media that jumped on the financial situation of her family, I think they should be ashamed of themselves. They should have been focusing on the role model that she could be for the community instead of being negative or putting some type of negative aspect on her family's financial situation.
Okay, let's get a response from our panel. Thanks, Don, for the call. Bill?
Abe Lincoln went bankrupt 3 times. Ford, before he got himself together, 15 times. I mean, it's just mean. I mean, it's instead of, and you see that, and a lot of people, and I don't like to use the R thing and all that kind of stuff, but there's a tendency in America, in the media, especially liberal media as well, to not to deal with these issues up front. I mean, instead of looking at it, I praise her mother. She gave up everything. She gave up her dignity when she had to go down to that bankruptcy court and give up her dignity to take care of her child. And that's what she should have done. And that's what I would have done. I would have done everything I could have to open that door, crack that light for my children. So I applaud her. But the media takes this other approach. They always got to find something shady or dark, quote, about something that's good, that's nourishing, that's American.
Well, Donald Trump filed for bankruptcy too, and he's a darling of the conservative.
No, I agree. That's what I meant.
So he's always on Fox. He's always on there talking about some new conspiracy or something. So the news media, and again, who broke that story was TMZ.com. I mean, that's what they do. They're into gossip. So the thing is, whether a more responsible journalistic organization is going to pick up on that.
But the responsible journalistic organizations did pick up on it.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, the way the media is nowadays, if one outlet picks it up regardless, it's like everybody has it, and you can find it. I do wonder, I would question why that was important to this particular story when she's at the Olympics. Mm-hmm. I would question why that has some news value at all as to what her performance
now in all failure also they also did mention the foreclosure of, and I don't remember the athlete's name, one of the
kid from Florida.
Other athletes from Florida that his family that their home was in foreclosure.
I think they did that
but again,
out of guilt.
It comes back to the same. So you think that was guilt based on what they did with Gabby?
But don't you think,
Carol,
that it's the dark side, that people like to see the dark side, and that sells papers and magazines, and people like, and I think that says something about our culture, that no matter how high someone gets, let's find something wrong and that doesn't have anything to do with the central achievement, and let's find that little dark side.
Let's see what Richard has to say from Hampton. Hi, Richard. You're on the air. Hello?
Maybe not.
I guess he's not there. Richard, are you there? No, he's gone. Okay, go ahead, Roger. I'm sorry.
Well, the other thing I was going to say is, there's one school of thought that would say, well, that might also show some of the things that she's overcome. I just question why it particularly had to come out now, especially during the games themselves, and why that was important to what she's doing in terms of her athletic ability and her performance.
Well, actually, it had nothing to do with her whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
It had actually nothing to do with her. That's her parent situation. So, it had absolutely no connection whatsoever.
Okay, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Let's move on to our next topic. First Baptist Church of Crystal Springs, Mississippi. They refused to allow a black couple to marry in the church. Charles and Tiandria Wilson wanted to get married in their church, and the pastor said that he would get fired if he married them. We have some sound from them. Let's listen.
We couldn't have the wedding at the church. He had people in the sanctuary that was pitching a fit about us being a black couple. I mean, I didn't like it at all because I wasn't brought up to be racist. I was brought up in the church all my life to love and care for everybody.
I blame First Baptist Church of Crystal Springs. I blame those members who knew and called themselves being Christians and didn't stand up.
Now, the Reverend Stan Weatherford was the officiating pastor. He is white. He took the couple to the predominantly African-American Baptist church in Crystal Springs, and that's where they actually got married. The church subsequently apologized on their website. Not face-to-face,
but not to
Roger.
them.
And not
But not
to
to
them.
them.
Not directly to the couple. Roger.
I just wonder sometimes about, I mean, if a place doesn't want me, I don't want to give them my collections every week. I mean, you don't want me in your church? Fine, I'll go somewhere else where somebody wants me. But if you are going to accept me in my church, in the church, it seems to me they would treat me equally.
Because actually, Tiandria was a member of the church prior to the wedding, and was good friends with the pastor.
You just wonder something. You see things like this, and you just scratch your head and you wonder, what year are we in again? And so you think sometimes it's not believable, but I guess it actually did happen. It's kind of astounding.
Carol?
I was astounded and angered because, first of all, like Roger, who I don't agree with sometimes, Roger.
You're finally getting some smarts.
But I think I would say, okay, bye. And by the way, here's how much you owe me from all I have paid into this church. Bye. And on a cultural level, again, I was thinking, what does this say about Christianity? Because I think that Christians love and support and cherish people, and it's not a racial thing, and that appalled me.
Well, according to the Southern Baptist leaders of the Southern Baptist Church, say that they called for the church to reconsider, saying Christians should oppose racism. Really?
Hello.
Hey,
Well,
Tell you that.
Personally, I think when I hear things like this, it just reinforces that there's a difference between church folk and Christians. For those of you who are listening out there, there's a church folk are into tradition and my family this and my church that and my pew this, and they are Christians who try to follow as best as they can the Beatitudes, the precepts of the Gospels of Jesus Christ. And so when I see stuff like this, I say, we're not talking about Christians. We're talking about church folk. Because that's the type of stuff that church folk do.
But Bill, the pastor said, I'm afraid that if I did allow them to get married in the church, I'd lose my job.
Church folk.
I will never. I was raised in a Jewish community, and I will never forget what they always would ask me. Why do you people still worship the gods of your enslaver? It's untimely. I agree with Will. These are church folks. Most of these buildings they got up here, big entertainment centers with all this stuff going on. They're not. There's not godly. And I'm not. And certainly I believe in God. I love Jesus. I was raised that way. But there's no church in the black or white community anymore. Is what Will had said. These are church folks, entertainment centers. You go around any of these corners in any urban community within 10 feet of the biggest entertainment churches, what they call them now. It's the biggest drug den in the world. I mean, it's awful. It's crazy. It's insane.
Okay, the drug den, how do we get there?
Because you turn a corner. Go down here at Brambleton and Church Street. If you walk 10 feet either way, you can get all the drugs you want. And you go to any church in community in Chicago, in Cleveland, Antioch, where I used to go in Cleveland, 150th and St. Clair, the biggest entertainment center in the whole world there. And you walk down 2 blocks on Euclid Avenue, you can buy anything you want. Women, crack, anything. And nothing happens outside of that. So we have to do better. Why do y'all do worship the gods of y'all in slavery. I never understood it, tell you the truth.
Well, I come back and say Christians don't need a building to be Christians. Jesus didn't have a building. And, his ministry wasn't tied to a building. So therefore, you're talking about you can't come in my building and have this ceremony. I mean, that is just classic church folk.
But Carol, what does this say, commentary again, about our society in 2012, that we could even have someone raise this as an issue?
I have no idea, because back in the day when I was a child, I heard, here's a church and here's what you're supposed to do. And there was an emphasis, like you said, on the building rather than the spirits and the minds of the people who were in the building.
And the pastors.
With
their overly accessorized European cars.
Exactly.
I mean, so, there you go.
Girl, I don't understand it, because even as my grandfather was a minister, and he told me, your relationship is with God. It's not that building. So if you decide not to go to church on Sunday, as long as you respect the tradition and you treat everybody fairly and rightly, that's what the goal is. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Anita joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Anita. You're on the air.
Yes. I am appalled that is something that just happened recently about this couple trying to get married in their church. But as a Caucasian West Indian married to an African American, I can tell you it goes both ways. We have had very hard things said to us in all black churches, and we've had very hard things said to us in all white churches.
So how
kind of leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. Have
you been able to settle into a church that has been accepting?
Nope.
Not at all.
Coming from the islands, there are churches. They're not black churches and white churches.
There you go.
There's just churches. My first experience was here in a Baptist church in South Carolina, and it was very, very uncomfortable because I look white, but I'm not white. And, of course, you can hear me speaking. There's an accent, and it confuses everybody. But then when you see my husband, then it really confuses everybody.
Oh, goodness.
Anita, thanks so much for your call. We appreciate that. Roger, the idea of the church apologizing on the website.
It wasn't an apology, and we all know that it wasn't an apology. And if they really cared about it, they didn't have to put anything up on the website. They would have the members or the board would have gone directly to the couple and said this was wrong, and we're not going to do this anymore, and we shouldn't have done it.
It's better off tweeting. Send a tweet.
That's terrible. And I'm hoping that the fact that you don't hear about incidents like this so much, maybe that is a hopeful sign. But it's amazing that it does happen in 2012.
And the thing that also amazed me, though, is that they got all the way to the rehearsal before, which was 2 days before the wedding.
Because they had already paid the money, probably.
Before someone said something about them getting married in the church.
Now, the other interesting thing is that you got the president of Southern Baptist now, his first black president, Southern Baptist, who this is coming under his watch. He has to deal with this. I also understand, I heard the couple may be considering some type of legal action, which can be very troubling because, for the whole Southern Baptist community or Christian community in a sense, because this issue is also, if you notice some of the news reports, have been the same-sex marriage issue has been brought in to this. So if you can turn around and now file a suit and have some kind of recourse because of this, that could potentially open up doors for people who are looking for legal recourse when it comes to that too.
So go ahead, Bill.
Dear Lord, stay out of court. I mean, it's have some common sense, like you just said. Why would you give somebody money who hates you? I just don't understand it. I truly do not. You're giving this church money. You're conjugating with these people, and the most segregated hour in the world is probably 8 to 10 a.m. every Sunday morning. I mean, and then you're going to, sue them by not going there. Sue them by not participating them. Give them your money. Same-sex people shouldn't get married anyhow.
That's for another day.
Exactly. Y'all going to run away, but that's okay.
I think it'll be interesting.
Marriage is between a man and a woman, but that's another topic.
Let's see what maybe a story needs to be done a year from now, and let's see, Has that church changed? Is this couple still with the church? Yeah.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. If you're just joining us, this is the Another View Roundtable, and our pundits are Roger Chesley, columnist for the Virginian-Pilot, NSU political science professor Carol Pretlow, community activist Bill Thomas, and talk show host Will Laveist.
I just have one more comment.
Okay.
Do you believe there's not evil in this world? Do you think it is free of evil?
No, of course there's evil
but this
in the
is
world.
evil. And this is evil.
But
so...
I don't think the evil should be in the church. If this is a church that is dedicated to Christianity and
Christianity
values,
and church is probably more responsible for more deaths in this world than anything else in the world.
Well,
that's what they're doing over there in the Middle East right now. So, I don't understand it.
Yeah, but you would hope that in a church, in a synagogue, in a mosque, that we would hopefully find our better selves. And I think that we need to cling on to that wish that we can do better. And certainly, I often say about myself, I hope that I can keep working on myself to be a better person spiritually. And that is a continuing task. It doesn't get to a certain point. And you're always trying to work to get better.
The phones have lit up, and so I have a feeling that they have to do with your comment, Bill.
What comment?
So I am waiting to see.
I didn't make any comments.
Yeah, you did.
So let's see. Once we get the comments up on the board, we can see who's calling, so that we can take some of these calls, because we're going to have to deal with it. You
just
brought
wanted
it up.
to interject in there is that where you have people, you are going to have some evil.
That's true. No, I mean just as a
you gonna have some
evil. As a given. I'm just waiting to see, are the lines ready? Okay. Sherry joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Sherry. You're on the air.
I'll keep it cool, but they probably won't want it.
Hi there, Sherry. You're on the air.
Oh, I am? Okay.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Okay, we're talking about discrimination with the mixed couple and the marriage. I think that's wrong. We're also, then, someone on your program said something about a marriage between a gay couple, and we know it's a man and a woman. That's discrimination, too. How do you discriminate anything on God's earth? How can anyone discriminate, or how do we, as people, think we have the righteous right to discriminate, period? God created all men equal. Men, women, equal. Where the discrimination comes in, I don't know, but someone on your program said that.
Well, that's why we're letting you talk, Sherry, so that you can disagree with what Bill said, and we will get his comment. Thanks so much for your call. Bill, you want to respond?
I can be real clear on that. I think two people of any kind of whatever they want to call themselves can do whatever they want to do. They can have these unions. I support that. They can have this. But marriage is between a man and a woman. I mean, and we've had this conversation on here before. It's between a man and a woman. It's defined that way. It's legally that way. It's biblical that way. And it's every kind of way. I'm not saying two people who love each other, whether they're two men, two women. That's fine. I'm not discriminating against them. Do whatever you want to do. But it's not marriage.
Okay. Liz joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Liz. You're on the air.
Yes. I grew up in Berkeley, and we went to the same church. My family, we come from a very large family, of course. Mom and dad, and my sisters and brothers. And when my sister wanted to get married, she went to the pastor with her fiancé, and he would not marry her because he was white. So the card, that door swings both ways as far as white pastors not wanting to join a black couple in their church, or a black pastor in a black church not wanting to marry an interracial couple. And I think that, that's a lesson that we need to, continue to teach our children, that church isn't about the building or your opinion. It's about God's word.
Okay, thanks, Liz, for the call. Will, I'll let you respond, and then we're going to move on to our next topic.
I mean, I think that she's absolutely right. It goes back to my point about church folk and Christians. Christians are looking at, okay, what is it that Christ, that God would have us to do here based on what the Bible says, not based on my opinion, my emotions, my feelings. What is it? And let me discern and let me seek God's guidance in this as best as I possibly can. Church folk will say, tradition is this. This is how we always done it. This is how we all gonna keep on doing it. We're not gonna have them in here in our church.
Amen.
All right,
Amen.
Amen, Pastor. Amen.
Gregory's calling us from Chesapeake. Hi, Gregory.
Pass the plate.
Hi, Gregory. You're on the air.
Hi, how you doing today?
Okay.
And, hello to the panel. What a good discussion.
Thank you.
I simply just want to express my outrage and my disappointment in the church that not allowing the couples to get married in church simply because of the color of their skin. After all, God said that we should love each other and take care of each other. But it's disappointing to me to hear that in this day and age. I thought we got past that a long time ago, but evidently we haven't. But I also, in closing, I just want to extend an invitation to, I think her name was Anita, that called and said she hasn't found a church and that they're comfortable. I'd like to offer an invitation to come to visit our church at Calvary Revival Chesley. I think she'll find a church that willingly and openly that will accept her no matter what she looks like. Basically, we just serve God, love Jesus, and that's what we do. So I thank you for the discussion. I appreciate the chance to comment on it.
Thank you, Gregory. Thank you for that call, and thank you for that invitation. And hopefully Anita is still listening and can take advantage of that if she would like. Okay, presidential race. Mitt Romney is coming to Norfolk tomorrow.
Yes.
This afternoon, the Romney Economics, the Middle Class Under the Bus Tour, sponsored by the Democratic National Committee, is coming to Norfolk. The race is heating up. Sounds like Governor McDonald may still be in the race to become the vice president.
Yes, he is.
A lot of stuff happening, Roger.
Yeah, there is. And should we delve into Louise Lucas just yet, or should we push?
Well, actually, you know what? We're going to delve into Louise Lucas. Well, let's go ahead and play. Let me set it up a little bit so that people remember what happened. She made a comment on
a radio
program.
A radio interview.
Yeah, the radio
John
program called Common Sense for the Commonwealth. The host is John Fredericks, and it's airs on AM radio.
I've been on the show myself.
Okay, and she made a comment about race and how it plays into this year's presidential election. Let's hear the clip.
Now, when we interviewed Governor Romney on our show about 10 days ago, one of the comments he made on the show was that, how can President Obama really understand the economy when he's never had a job in the private sector? Does that hold water?
That does not hold water. Let me just say this. You have a lot of people who go to different elected positions who've never served in other positions before, and they do extremely well. You have some who do poorly. President Barack Obama just happened to be an exceptionally intelligent person, and he can function in any realm. So what I'm saying to you is Mitt Romney, he's speaking to a population of a segment of the population who does not like to see people other than a white man in the White House or in any other elected position. Let's be real clear about it. Mitt Romney is speaking to a group of people out there who don't like folks like President Barack Obama in any elective or leadership position. We know what's going on here, and some people may be afraid to say it, but I'm not. I'm not afraid to say it. He's speaking to that fringe out there who do not want to see anybody other than a white person in a leadership position.
Do you really believe now that this is still about race?
I absolutely believe it's all about race, and for the first time in my life, I've been able to convince my children finally that racism is alive and well.
Even in Virginia?
In Virginia, how about all across this nation, and especially in Virginia?
So do you think race, as this campaign goes on through this summer and then through...
We need to have that discussion because it has not been addressed appropriately, and we do need to have that discussion. And I know there are people who are probably cringing in their seats because they don't want to hear it, but it's time that we face the reality that we need to have a national discussion on racial issues.
Now, conservatives went crazy.
Yeah, they did.
And they blogged all over that Louise Lucas is racist. Roger, your response.
I don't think Louise is racist. I think there is some truth into what she said. But look, let's also take a look at some things. If Barack Obama had not won enough white votes 4 years ago, he wouldn't have been president. So obviously, there are people of all races who voted for him. Is race an issue? Well, it's never not an issue, but the question is, how much of an issue is it? I think that he is going to be judged more than anything else on the economy. That is really going to be what this election is going to be about. Race is going to be a part of that. You can never completely divorce race in this country from everything that else that's going on. The question is, well, how much of it is going to play into whether you vote for him? And I strongly believe that for most of the electorate, it's going to be about, do we think this guy is going to make this country better than the other guy? He's had 4 years. Yes, he came in under some dire straits. Does he seem to be putting the country on the right track? Do we think that Mitt Romney is going to do a better job than him? Race will play a role for some people. The question is, to what extent? And that's always a dicey thing to try to get at. It's always a hard thing to try to drill down and to get to the place that say it's going to make up X percent of what you do when you go into the ballot box.
Well, Carol, as a political science expert on our panel here, but there are some people who also say that there are African Americans who strictly voted for Obama because he was African American. So race plays on both sides.
I think race has to play on both sides, mainly because, particularly from the African American perspective, you are playing into a context, and you can't separate your historic. It's hard to separate your historic memory from the here and now and what's going on. When we look at Obama, of course, we're going to look at his record, but we're also looking at what he inherited and his efforts to get measures through the House. Well, if the House is predominantly non-African American, the question is going to come, well, what part does race play in that? And are they being objective? Or is race a factor there? And frankly, I go through the bookstore every day and see these books that are anti-Obama. So I think all of this comes to play a part into how you interpret an election and what the end result is going to be.
Bill?
I don't know. I think that Gabby's mom probably makes the biggest point to me. We need to have jobs. I'm tired of whether Romney turned in his taxes or how President Obama got into Harvard. I don't care. He got out. He's president. I don't know how many did that. The true issue, the true tragedy, especially in the African-American community, is that in some of our neighborhoods in Lamberts Point, Park Place, Berkeley, we have kids. Actually, you ought to go see Dr. Cooks. He did a report on the status of black men in Hampton Roads. And in one of the categories that he put, it is frightening. Black men from the ages from 17 to 24 actually lost jobs that will never, ever be recovered. And then they are not graduating from high school. And you're talking about 67% not graduating. These people will never, ever work. You ought to read it. I'm going to commend him for that piece. It's a great piece. You ought to get him on your show and talk about it.
We've actually been in conversation with him.
It's frightening. And then another category he puts in, black men from 21 to 54. The unemployment rate is like 38%, and it's not the unemployment rate that people are just that moves up and down. It's permanent. It's the basis of where it started. If you really dig into the numbers and grab into that, so this presidential race, I think on both sides, they both ought to be ashamed of themselves. President Obama and Romney, they're not talking about how you're going to lift Americans and the people that are most vulnerable to a position where they can be contributing to the society and help make things work here. And I think that's where, again, I give it Rogers on economics and jobs.
Okay. Well,
political handball. It's political handball. I mean, it's a move on her part to basically speak really to, Romney and Obama in a fight for the people in the middle. And it was really a move on her part to say to moderate white voters, you don't want to be associated with these folks down in that church in Mississippi. That's basically what she was saying. And that's who they are in a battle for, the battle for the middle. And Romney has a little weakness with his base And so he's got to make some decisions to strengthen up his base. But the strength of Romney is that he could get those folks in the middle who see his record up there in Massachusetts, and it's not very radical.
We'll continue just a second, but Lynn, want to get her in on the conversation. Lynn joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Lynn.
Hi. When I heard about them saying about the bankruptcy and everything, to me, I thought it was wrong to bring it up, number one. Number one, I don't think parents of the Olympic contestants have the opportunity to deduct expenses that they pay for their children to get the lessons, the housing, the everything else that they need in order for them to get to the Olympics. But yet, Romney can turn around and deduct over $77,000 for his wife's course to be in the Olympics on their taxes.
Okay.
So
Bill, go ahead. I'll let you respond.
You hate people who have done things spectacularly to make money, so you dislike them for their ingenuity and their ability to make money. Give me a break. I applaud them for having a horse.
I don't think that's really the question. I think really the real issue is if somebody of great wealth, and nobody's, at least I'm not upset about people making money. The question is, if you're at one plane, and do you really understand some of the things that other people are dealing with? And I think that's one of the issues that keep on coming back to hit Romney is the types of, quote, job creation that he's done. Is that really creating jobs, or is it really helping shareholders because of the jobs that he's sending overseas? And I think that's the issue he's really going to have to, it's going to haunt him for the rest of the campaign.
So can Governor McDonnell, if he is selected as vice president, help balance some of this out, help shore up some of this base that Romney needs to shore up?
Well, I personally know the governor, known him for 28 years, and I think he does bring balance, and I think he's a guy, he understands what a carton or gallon of milk costs. I agree with you on that to a degree, and he brings common sense to stuff. I mean, a lot of people don't like it on the right and on the left. But, Bob's a personal guy. He understands things. His daughter served in Iraq, and, so he understands challenges and sacrifices that you make, and he's a fair guy.
Yeah, I think that he would bring balance to the ticket, and obviously Romney is in a position that he needs Virginia. But the other thing, and this might be a good thing, is that he's a relative unknown in the national sphere, and that is, we have not seen much for him. He has not made many statements. We don't know exactly what he brings to the table aside from being able to pull a swing state. I think it might be a good move that his slate is blank, that he can come to the national people and say, here I am, here's what I have done for Virginia, and here is my perspective. And we don't have to go through the circle of he said, she said, they said by Time Magazine or Newsweek or any of those. Roger?
I'm going to disagree slightly with you on that. I think he has gained some national notoriety because of some of the legislative battles that took place earlier this year in the General Assembly, especially over abortion and other social issues. But I will say this, there was a piece by Chris Eliza in Washington Post yesterday talking about historically how much does the vice presidential pick actually bring to the ticket. And the essence of the article is this: not much. The person at the top of the ticket really decides. He goes back historically. He says the last one that really made a difference was Lyndon Johnson in the 1960 campaign. But and the analogy that was used in there was you might have a kid coming to a college campus. He goes with the assistant coach. He shows him around and everything. But it's the head coach that really is going to make him decide whether or not he's going to go to that program. And much in the same way, it's the person who's really the president. Maybe it helps him a little bit if he picks McDonnell in Virginia. Maybe not. And, what do you do with him after he becomes vice president if he would become vice president? So, it has some effect, but probably not much.
Okay, Geraldine joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Geraldine. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon. I just wanted, I'm obviously a white woman, and I want you to know that when I voted the last election, I voted for John McCain. I voted for him because I thought he had a world perspective. I believed in everything that he stood for. It was nothing about race. But this election, I will be voting for the current president. I think President Obama is a good leader. I think he's been dealt a hand that no one would have wanted, but here he is trying to do the best. I don't think Romney represents my values personally. I come from a state. I think we had the first black senator, Senator Brooks. Check me on that. I don't know, but it's not about the race. It's about putting competent, decent, honorable people in charge. And I don't think you get many good and honorable, decent people. I think President Obama is one of those people, and I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I believe in the man.
I think the Obama campaign is going to be calling you and asking you to do a testimonial.
They're calling you right now.
She's a classic example of that middle voter right there that can go either way. That's not all caught up in all of the other stuff.
Okay.
Good idea.
Geraldine, thanks so much for your call. We appreciate it. Real quickly, Daniel joins us from Hampton.
Hi, I'm obviously a black person, and I would like to say that race is always going to be a factor. It helped Obama with white people and black people, just like it helped Colin Powell to sell the war. He worked as a trusted kind of blackface amongst all those white conservatives. When they pulled him out, they wheeled him out there. That really helped to sell the war to a lot of people, including my father. And people who just bought it because they just trusted him in him being black. I think it played in. That's all.
I don't understand.
I'm not quite sure I get your point. You're saying that because Colin Powell was black, that people followed him? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It helped to sell it because you got a black guy up there saying, "Yeah, let's do this."
Okay, thanks, Daniel, for your comment. I don't know. Will you get a black guy up there and say, "Let's do this," and they just follow you?
That hasn't personally been, my experience, but I think what he's trying to say is that, by having someone out there who's represents a group that's likely going to be out on the front lines of this, maybe in the minds of some, was able to help convince the war.
Well, Bill?
No. Actually, Colin Powell was on the front line. He did 2 tours in Vietnam. Yeah. He was a very respected, very honored, very decorated general. And whether he's black or white is irrelevant. He was actually good. And I hate for white folks or somebody who says, obviously I'm black. I don't know what you are because I'm only hearing your voice.
I think he said he was black.
He said he was black.
He said obviously. But the point is, Colin Powell's a great leader, black or white.
Okay, we only have a couple minutes left. I do want to ask the question about the White House initiative on African American education. We have had discussions in the past about whether or not it was appropriate for the president to create legislation or orders or executive orders for specific groups, and the other groups have said black people have complained. We've done it. He's done it for others. He hasn't done it for us. Is this enough, Roger?
I think the president should do what he thinks will help people who are struggling, and if this is an initiative that's going to help a segment of the population, I don't see what the problem is with that. Not every piece of legislation or executive order is going to help every American. We are very segmented. We have different things that go on in this country that don't necessarily affect everybody equally. But here was an issue that he saw that was a problem, and I have no problem with it. And I didn't quite understand some of the pushback on this.
Okay. Bill?
It's hypocritical. We've talked about this on the program before. At the same time, the president is trying to do this, which is legislative action. He's cutting Title IV programs. He's broadening perspective. Title IV is like Pell Grants and et cetera. He's broadening the scope where other people can get in, and the people who, as Roger just said, need to help, like at HBCUs, are getting squeezed, and Title III and these TRIO programs like Upward Bound, where it's helping poor kids everywhere. We don't have an Upward Bound program operational in Hampton Roads for African-American kids who need it the most. I was talking about the Dr. Cook's report. This is I'm very disappointed in this. It's a rope-a-dope, and he's playing these politics against his own, in this case, his own people. It's really sad. If you really dig into it, and I know Roger will, dig into it and find out exactly, and I'll send you some notes, find out exactly what's going on here. Black HBCUs, Norfolk State, Hampton, Augustine is getting ready to close. I'm not Augustine, St. Paul's.
Mm-hmm.
St. Paul's are getting ready to close their affiliate schools, and nobody's doing anything. He's not doing anything. I'm not saying do it to do it, but do it to help. But I think it's hypocritical. I'm quite upset about it.
Okay, Carol?
Well, again, in defense of Obama, you're looking at a person who has a perspective. Any president has their own perspective on certain issues. And when they come to the table with, this is my agenda, this is what I want to do, and this is how I think I should do it, naturally there are going to be segments who disagree with it at times. But I give him kudos for trying to help.
For trying. Okay. 30 seconds, Will. Nothing?
Political stuff.
Thank you,
again.
sir. Thank you.
On the
He's checking off
boxes.
his constituencies. Signed off on funding for Israel. Check. Leniency in immigration. Hispanics. Check. Same sex. I'm for same-sex marriage. Homosexual. Check.
Well,
Okay.
that's
Come on.
politics.
That's not politics.
And
Yeah,
that's
but this, but this is serious lives.
Yeah, but
this is
politics means
They need to
game
do
playing.
something.
okay. And on that note, we're done for this month. We'll see you at check. We'll see you guys second Friday of September, and we'll be right back.
I am not my head. I am not the skin. I am not your expectations. No, no. I am not my head. I am not the skin.
I guess got a feeling Gabby may have sung that song a time or two. She dealt with all of this. Time now for things to view and do in Hampton Roads.
You will be my Saturday love.
It's Carib Fest. The 7th annual Caribbean Festival is tomorrow, Saturday, August 11th at Town Point Park. Come enjoy steel pan music, stilt dancers, and elaborate costumes at the parade, and mouth-watering Caribbean food. The festivities kick off at 11 a.m. in Town Point Park, Norfolk. Visit VirginiaCaribFest.com for more information. Norfolk State University President Dr. Tony Atwater presents The Courage to Prevail, his State of the University address on Tuesday, August 14th at 9 a.m. in the L. Douglas Wilder Performing Arts Center. Visit nsu.edu to find out more. Do you or your young one have the acting bug? The Hurrah Players are holding auditions for Disney's Aladdin. They're looking for males and females ages 5 and above. Auditions will be held Tuesday, August 14th and Wednesday, August 15th. Call 627-5437 to schedule your appointment. The Virginia Legislative Black Caucus is hosting a voter education town hall meeting on Thursday, August 16th from 6 until 8 p.m. at Hampton City Hall, Lincoln Street in Hampton. Come learn about the issues and the candidates in this nonpartisan community gathering. Grove Church in Portsmouth hosts its Forward to School Festival on the grounds of IC Norcom High School, Saturday, August 18th from 10 until 2. It's a celebration to prepare young people for going back to school. Come enjoy games, food, and the distribution of hundreds of book bags filled with school supplies. Plus, parental tips for school success and free immunizations for kids with their immunization records. Call 484-4149 for more details. The Quality of Life Hampton Roads Adult Literacy Program is looking for volunteers to work with adult students to improve their literacy skills. It takes just about 2 hours a week, and you can set your own schedule. Call Olivia Dabney at 398-0058 to get involved. These events and more are on our website, anotherviewradio.org, and don't forget to sign up for our eView newsletter, a once-a-week reminder of upcoming programs. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Lisa Godley will be behind the mic next week talking about men's health issues, so be sure to tune in. I'm off to spend some time with my 2-year-old granddaughter, Patience. For producer Lisa Godley, audio engineer Perry Smith, Danny Epperson, who answered our phones, I'm Barbara Hamley. I'll see you in 2 weeks for Another View.